Uh-huh. Can't beat that for Mother Nature. Look at that. It's a long neck.
Hello BookTube, it's Joshua here, and today I'm going to be making I'm going to be making a kind of hybrid video. It's going to be a reading update video. I'm going to talk about a couple books that I read and one book that I'm reading right now, and then I'm going to talk about a TBR, about what I want to read in the month of July. So yeah, I'll get into it. With the TBR part, it's really just I'm not saying that I'm definitely going to get to all of them, but I'm just kind of laying out kind of what books are on my mind and what I would like to get to, and what I'll be kind of choosing from throughout the month. But first I'll talk about what I have read. And well, first I would like to read. Well, first I would like to tell you about Dune Messiah, which I read over the course of last week with a commenter of mine, Frank, not Frank Herbert, but a different Frank, and it took us about a week to read it, and we read it, we buddy read it over Storygraph, which was a really interesting experience because I had never used the app before, I really had a lot of fun with that, and it was really good. I really want to read Children of Dune next. The plot of Dune Messiah was really tense. I mean, it kept me hooked the entire time, and I was very confused for a lot of it. I think that Frank Herbert often does that. He's really good at only leaving hints about what's going to happen, and he always has a very intricate plot. This was, this is the second book in the series, and it's after Paul has become Emperor Muad'Dib, and also at the same time he's become a god to not just to the Fremen people, but to many people throughout the whole universe of Dune, the whole universe in this fantasy world of Dune, and it's just full of political intrigue. You have people plotting against him, and then you have Paul, trying to counteract that plot, but also seeing it in his future because Paul has, Paul can prophesy things, seeing in his future the continuance of a jihad in his name, and him trying to stop it, but not really being able to, and so that was really good. That was I love the world building of Dune Messiah, and I'm definitely going to have to reread it at some point because the plot was so intricately built. I think if I were to reread it again, I would notice a lot more things earlier in the novel that line up with what happens later. So yeah, that was a really wonderful experience, and I had I had such a fun time buddy reading it. I'm really not used to doing buddy reads. I haven't done many in my life. I'm used to it just being a solitary thing, but now I want to do more because I've kind of realized how fun it can be to share your reading, to share your thoughts in the moment with someone else who's also going through the same story with you. That was just really wonderful, and so that was Dune Messiah. I did also read another novel, and I read A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. So I read Dune Messiah on my Kindle, and I have this copy here, which is just a Arcturus. It's Arcturus. It says Arcturus there. I don't even know what that publishing line is, but I really liked this. I really liked reading this, and I really loved all the illustrations in this edition. I'll try to find one. Yeah, here's one such illustration. I just love these things, and I have a whole other shelf of Charles Dickens novels waiting to be read, and I think most of them also have similar kinds of illustrations, and um, well, in terms of the novel itself, I loved it so much. I just adored it. It was I, I can see why Dickens is so popular because, like Frank Herbert, he really knows how to spin a plot. He really knows how to tell a story that keeps you hooked, and yeah, there it was just I don't really know what to say. I, I thought at times that the characterization um, was maybe at times a little bit sappy, a little bit saccharine, but only a couple times. And I'm just mentioning that because I've heard other people say that oftentimes Dickens's characters are more caricatures than real fleshed out characters, and I can understand that. I saw that a little bit here, but not enough to really make me find any real faults in in this novel. I still connected with the characters. I still found so many of the character arcs to be just um, really powerful, and I have a feeling that I'm going to definitely be rereading this uh, uh, throughout my life. Um, and yeah, I just I really enjoyed it. Um, and what, is there anything else to say? I don't know. I think that's all I'll say. Um, Next was okay. Oh, now I'll talk about the one book that I'm still reading at the moment. I'm about three-quarters of the way through, so I'm almost done. And that book is Lorenzo de Medici by Miles J. Unger. And I mentioned that I was reading it, that I was just starting it in my last reading update video, and I'm still working on it. Uh, but I'm enjoying that so much as well. I've been enjoying all the books that I've been reading. Um, I don't know. I chose this biography because I had read about Lorenzo de Medici in The Agony and the Ecstasy by Irving Stone, and in that novel, Lorenzo is depicted. Well, we only see Lorenzo through Michelangelo's eyes, and he's depicted as a very uh, a very humane and almost like saintly figure. I mean, because Lorenzo he promoted the arts a lot in Florence. He had within um, his own house uh, many of the of the world's greatest writers and philosophers gathered there, and Michelangelo got to take part in that. Um, and so, seen from that perspective, Lorenzo was really something special in that novel. But then, now that I'm reading this biography of him, I'm also seeing a much different side of Lorenzo and of the world of the Italian Renaissance in general, and that is just that's largely the brutality of the world. I mean, there's intrigue after intrigue, plot after plot, and all this complex political maneuvering. Uh, and you also get, I mean, you also get the kind of the Plato Academy. You get Lorenzo's promotion of the arts. But one of the things that I found so interesting about this biography, one of the things that I learned here is that, I mean, the promotion of the arts and the 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 very intense and uh, the very intense politics of the time were actually intertwined because um, being a patron of the arts, being able to fund great works of art was actually a symbol of status, and so you have so you have a much more complex and different um, portrait of art and its role in the Italian Renaissance, which I'm learning from this biography. And also I'm just getting a sketch. I'm getting a portrait of what it was like to live there, what it was like to live during that time, and the completely different conceptions that they had, the completely different way of life that they had, and I think that's just utterly fascinating. I just finished the section where the Patsy family and Pope Sixtus the Sixth, I think, Pope Sixtus and his family are plotting against Lorenzo and Giuliano, his brother, and they succeed in assassinating Giuliano, his brother, and it was just so thrilling. Like the story of Lorenzo's life is just um, so fascinating to learn about. Anyway, that is what I'm reading right now. I'm almost done, so I'm hoping to finish that in the next few days here. But now I'll get to what I'm going to read in July because it's coming up pretty soon. So the first thing that I'm going to be reading, and this is what I'm going to be focusing on first and foremost throughout the month. This is the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, edited by Robert Silverberg. So yeah, this is I'm reading this with Steve. We're doing a read along, or we're doing a read along for Rocket Summer, where we read one short story, one short story per day, and there are 26 short stories in here, so that'll get us through the entire month. And I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna see how this goes. I've never actually read, an entire short story anthology or an entire book of short stories all the way through from front to back before, but this month I'll be doing that. So this will be a very new experience for me, and I'll get to see how that is. And it'll also largely introduce me to the genre of science fiction, because I've only read Dune and Dune Messiah in terms of science fiction novels, and that's pretty much it. So this will introduce me to a lot of great authors, a lot of like let's see who's in here. I know like Isaac Asimov is in here, Stanley G. Weinbaum, John Campbell, Lester Del Rey, Robert A. Heinlein, Theodore Sturgeon. So tons of really big names. So I'm excited to read this actually. And yeah, next, let me put these down here. So I'm going to be focusing on that, and I'm not sure how much I'll be able to fit in between those stories. I'll see how I feel, how much time I have, and things like that. But yeah, I have a number of books on my mind that I want to read for July, besides the short story anthology. And one of the things I want to do this summer is to continue reading about the Italian Renaissance. So one of those would be one such book for the Italian Renaissance would be Walter Isaacson's biography of Leonardo da Vinci. So yeah, I hauled this just I think in early May, and I read about Michelangelo, and I'm reading about Lorenzo Deadichi, and now I just want to read about Leonardo da Vinci, yeah, I really don't know much about his life. I mean, in The Agony and the Ecstasy, Irving Stone's novel, Leonardo is a character in there, and there's a a very strained relationship between Michelangelo and Leonardo. But at the same time, I also thought that Leonardo's character in there, even though he didn't get much of the spotlight, of course, I thought that his story sounded like it could make for a very compelling story. And so I want to learn more about him, and of course I want to learn more about his artwork and be guided by someone who knows the artwork, and to learn about it. So yeah, I'm excited to read that. Another book I like to read, and this is another nonfiction one. This is The Third Reich by Michael Burleigh. So again, I got this in the same book haul as I got the Leonardo book. In terms of my experience reading about the Third Reich or about World War II, I've only read William Shirer's The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich. So if I read this, I'll get to compare it to Shirer's book. And I have sampled the introduction for this, and I can already tell that it's going to be a little bit different in nature from Shirer's book. Shirer was an incredible storyteller. He told the story of the rise and fall of the Third Reich with a lot of energy and a lot of narrative power. But this seems to be taking a much more scholarly tone. It seems a lot more steep, which means that it'll be probably a bit more of a challenge for me compared to Shirer's book. But that's good. I'll want to hopefully climb this hill and hopefully read it and get something out of it and get to compare it and see if it gives me something that Shirer doesn't. So yeah, I mean, also choosing this subject specifically because, well, I was watching an interview that Hannah's Books did with Steve Donahue, and they were talking about reading, about how their reading has been affected by the current political climate, by what is happening, by what Donald Trump is doing in America right now. And Hannah suggested something interesting, which is that maybe if you do some very focused reading on the specific subject of this authoritarian regime that's being created right now, if you do some very specific reading on things like that, on things like authoritarian regimes, then maybe that can help you in a way, because then you'll be able to understand it more. And they say knowledge is power, which is of course not entirely true, because even if I read a book about the Third Reich and understand it better, I still won't have any power to control what Trump's doing. But I think that if I, on personal level, if I'm able to understand how these things work a little bit better, I'll be able to at least feel maybe a bit more of a sense of control, or just a sense of understanding. And I think that's worth it. And so that's one reason why I'm gravitating towards this subject right now. And also because I saw Steve's video about reading projects, and he mentioned how there's a lot of satisfaction and there's a lot of things to be learned by comparing different books written about the same subject. And this would be one example of that. So I want to do that. Okay, two more things that I will try to get to in July. And these are both for events. These are both, so first, it's Jane Austen July, of course. So I have to read the complete novels. I'm not gonna read all the novels, of course, but I have this complete novels edition here, and I want to read probably just one novel by Jane Austen. I've read Pride and Prejudice, Emma, and Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, which means that probably I'll want to read one of the ones that I haven't read yet. So I'm thinking maybe Persuasion or Sense and Sensibility, maybe one of those two. And then what was the other one? Mansfield Park is the last one. So yeah, I'll read one of those three. I haven't really decided which one. Maybe I'll ask Andrew to do a buddy read with me for that one, because I mentioned it slightly in a comment one time. So maybe I'll try to do a buddy read for this. We'll see again whether I'm able to, whether I feel like I can fit it in. And this is the last one. This is the last book that I want to do, and this is for another event. It's Private Eye July, and I plan on reading Sherlock Holmes for that, because I'm new to most genres, and I haven't read much of crime fiction or anything like that. So I guess I figure I might as well start with Sherlock Holmes. Start with the most natural choice. And I've read some short stories. I've listened to some audiobooks of short stories, of Sherlock Holmes short stories, and I've listened to Steve narrate The Hound of the Baskervilles, and that was really good. That plot was really good. And so this is just like a hard. I think this is a very common hardcover that you can find. I think I got this at a Value Village or something. And I love how they have columns in here so they can cram in as much of his writing as possible. And I love books with illustrations. I mean, The Tale of Two Cities also had illustrations, and I love how it really aids the reading experience. And so yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll just read some short stories by Sherlock Holmes, or maybe I'll try to read one of the novels in here. This has a lot of his works in here. It has 2 short story collections, I think. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, and then it has a novel, The Hound of the Baskervilles, and then it has another short story collection, The Return of Sherlock Holmes. So it has quite a bit in here, and I'm happy about that. But yeah, that'll be it. Those are kind of the books that are in the back of my mind right now that I'm thinking of reading. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you guys will be reading for July as well. And let me know anything else that you want to tell me in the comments. So bye-bye.